you want me to call them or?
So let's go ahead and start the meeting. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see people out in the audience all the time. I'm doing a quick roll call, and I noticed Peter Hasland, myself, Marty Bloom, and Craig, and our student trustee are here, and 3 members are missing. I do expect them shortly. Tonight, we are going to take 2 items out of order, and the first one is classified longevity. Dr. Gaskin?
Well, it's my pleasure to first introduce Jim Clark, who will recognize 2 very important people with our classified longevity recognition.
President Gaskin, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be up here today to talk about Arturo Pichardo and the years that he's had at the college. He's being recognized for 10 years of service here at the college. An Associate of Science graduate of Santa Barbara City College. He started his career here in educational programs. Was hired by Dan Watkins to support the library, nursing department, and computer-aided drafting. That department has merged into information technology to become academic technology support. Some of the projects that Arturo was most notably involved in were the GoPrint implementation district-wide and the grassroots effort that became the Cyber Center. So Arturo was a key component and architect of those 2 projects. Additionally, Arturo provided technical leadership for the ATS department as a senior instructional computer lab coordinator and was Jason Walker's go-to person for many years. In fact, Jason says they built the ATS department together and it wouldn't have been possible without Arturo. And I felt very fortunate to be able to steal him away from Jason, and I rubbed that in his face a lot. I've assigned him out to the Wake and Shot Centers, and he replaced Greg Grunt, who was out there for many years. And when Greg left, there was a lot of trepidation from the staff and faculty out there who were very worried about who was going to take over and what kind of support they were going to provide. But those fears were assuaged when Arturo went out there, because everyone is really happy with the support that he provides and the great attitude he exudes every day. And they're glad to have him, as am I. And a phrase that Jason Walker's heard 1,000 times from Arturo, and now I'm hearing it a lot too, is, "Okay, Chief, I'll take care of the dirty work." And so Arturo, congratulations on your longevity, and I look forward to working with you for many more years to come.
Come on up, Arturo.
Well, I just want to thank Santa Barbara City College for giving me the opportunity to be part of the SBCC family. It's been a wonderful 10 years, and I expect them to be even better for the next 10 or 20 years, as long as I can work here. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturo.
Another one of my staff is being recognized for longevity today, and that is Liz Auchincloss. And I'm sure all of you know Liz. It's kind of hard not to, considering she's been a staple here for so long. It's been 25 years now, and she's served as the president of the CSEA for so many years. I could not get a consensus from anybody exactly how long that's been. I heard over 20 was probably safe to assume, but no? Okay. Many. In fact, Liz carries an outstanding reputation for devotedly and tenaciously representing the classified staff and their interests, as well as the interests of the IT department and her team. In her role in IT, she's been the key figure in the Staff Resource Center, providing training on a wide variety of technologies to the college staff. In fact, I'll bet the majority of the staff here in the attendance today have been in one of her training sessions at one time or another. She coordinates the software licensing and computer hardware inventory and supports desktops and applications on campus. and she does a great job in all of these roles. I personally have often relied on her expertise, knowledge, and experience, and she's always willing to share her opinion, however honest and brutal it may be. She provides a well-rounded viewpoint based on her personal relationships with the other team members and her experience and longevity at the college, and that's a valuable asset to me personally. That honest opinion is something I really value. I think of her as a trusted advisor in this regard. And I know the rest of the team looks up to her as well, and I think that's because she clearly cares about the people that she serves, and that really shows in her dedication. So Liz, congratulations on your outstanding 25 years of supporting Santa Barbara City College.
Good afternoon. Seems like this last 5 years has gone a lot quicker than the first 20. I've seen a lot of changes at City College as far as the technology and as far as the college itself. A lot of the buildings weren't here when I first started. Most of the technology wasn't. We didn't have any networks when I first started. But I want to thank the college community for letting me serve in so many different capacities. And we'll see how much longer I can stay, and probably quite a while. You know, maybe not another 25, but a few more. So thank you very much, and I appreciate the honor. Thanks.
And our third individual will be introduced by Race Coakley. Oh, Eric, okay. Eric Fricky.
Good evening, President Macker, Board of Trustees, Dr. Gaskin. My name is Eric Fricky, Campus Security Director, and I'd like to present to you Nick Sidoti, who has completed his 10th year at the college as campus security. As you are all aware, working security is not always an easy job, where we often make contact with more difficult people, but this is where Nick shines as an officer. Nick has great patience, is very polite, and has the ability to be compassionate yet stern when needing someone to follow directions. More times than often, the person who began the incident in a hostile manner ends up thanking Nick for his help and consideration. Nick's enthusiasm for the job has not waned after these 10 years, but instead he has continued to be positive and looks for ways to take on more responsibility. One of the ways he has done this is improving his ability is by taking on special projects. Nick is very good at researching and finding the most suitable company or items and then following through with its completion. A short list of such items is the purchase of the Eastgate control arms, which you see as you come in, the arms that go up and down. This is a very important project because what it's done is stopped all the student vehicles that don't belong back there going through the crosswalks with lots of pedestrians. So it's really made our campus much safer in keeping the traffic down to a bare minimum. Also, he was in charge of purchasing or finding and purchasing the high security key lock boxes for our new key system, purchase and installation of the AED machines throughout campus, and installation of the campus signs, and overseeing the painting and stenciling of our parking lots. So I'm happy to have such a valued member on our campus, working security, and I thank him for his dedicated service. Thank you.
And that is for 10 years of service.
People who know me know I usually could go on and on and on, but I won't. I can just say thank you very much, and it's great to be here. And like Liz said, we'll see how much longer I can do this. I'm certain that there's another 10, maybe 5 after that. I'm still young, so we'll see. But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'm always humbled by the dedicated service of the staff and faculty at this community college, so I just want to thank the three of you, Liz, Nick, and Arturo, for your service, and hope to see you in 20 years. You too, Liz. The next item we're going to take out of order is we have a guest speaker here from the Chancellor's Office, Dan Troy, who's come at our invitation to speak about the funding framework for the community colleges. Lori, did you?
So thank you. As Dan is making his way up to the podium, I want to remind the board that you had a question. Actually, the fiscal committee had a question about Prop 98 funding. And while Joe and I could have put together a presentation, I thought it would be best to go straight to an expert. And I recall when Eric Skinner, who was your predecessor, spoke about Dan Troy coming into the Chancellor's office, there couldn't have been a more excited individual. He spoke very, very highly of Dan, and Dan brings just a wealth of knowledge to the state and has led our efforts in the fiscal and facilities planning so that everyone out in the field, on the ground, has a very strong respect and admiration for you. So, Dan, you're going to give us a primer, an overview.
I don't know that I can live up to that.
Well, I think you can.
Well, I'm glad you exaggerate as much as Eric does. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me here today. It's a lot of fun to come down to Santa Barbara. As I mentioned before, I had never been to Santa Barbara before, so I'm really enjoying my visit, and I've told my wife that I may not return. So, she may have to bring the kids down and meet me here. Superintendent President Gaskin, President Macker, board members, thank you very much for having me here today to talk a little bit about the state budget in the context of Proposition 98, and most importantly, what that means for community colleges as you do the very hard and important work of trying to build your budgets and build a future educational plan that works for your community. Having a little bit of background on these issues can, I think, help inform your decisions. So hopefully I can help out today a little bit. So what we'll talk about a little bit today, and don't worry, there won't be a quiz on any of this, so maybe a conversation, but not a quiz. We'll talk a little bit about some high-level state budget figures. We'll talk a little bit about Proposition 98 and how it works and sometimes how it doesn't work very well for us. We'll give a little bit of overview at the state level of what community college funding is like. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the uncertainties that we have in our funding. If you've been in community colleges or indeed in K-14 education for the last several years, you know that our funding is not always as certain and as consistent as we might like it to be. So we'll take a look at some of those issues. First off, right here, this is the total state general fund. So for the 14-15 enacted budget, we have $108 billion in general fund and some other dollars in special funds. That's mostly federal dollars and property tax, but that top line number is really the important one, the $108 billion. That's the true measure of health for the state, and that's the amount of dollars that the legislature and the governor actually really have true discretion over. What I like about that figure, $108 billion, is that this was the first year since 2008 that number was actually higher than it was at that point. We had a very significant recession, as you know. We lost more than 20% of the state general fund in the darkest part of the recession. So 14-15 is the first year we've kind of come back above water. The K-14 share of the state budget is quite large. It's more than half, over $60 billion. That is directly attributable to the Proposition 98 guarantee, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. And the community college share of that for this year is about $6.7 billion. Again, just like the rest of the state, this is the first year in several years that we're actually back to where we were. So we've come out of the trench and are on the rebound, thanks to Proposition 30 and an improving economy. So what is Proposition 98? Proposition 98 was approved by the voters and as a ballot initiative. in 1988. And it was amended a couple of years after that, but the major precepts of it were approved by the voters in 1988. And essentially what it does is it calculates what they call a minimum guarantee that the state must fund K-14 education. And there's several aspects to the calculation that lawmakers need to look at each year as they determine what exactly that minimum guarantee means. Again, there will not be a quiz on this. I do want to point out there are essentially three tests available to the legislature as they decide what does that minimum guarantee do that year. I will focus on test 2 because in more than 2/3 of the years of the state, that is the test that is in effect. And essentially what that does is it says that the state will look at last year's base for Proposition 98, and they will grow it essentially by enrollment growth in K-12 education and also by the growth in per capita income of California residents. So essentially what the Proposition 98 guarantee is attempting to do over time is give to education the share of wealth of its citizens. So by looking at the per capita growth in income, that's in a nutshell what the guarantee attempts to do. Can the legislature suspend the guarantee? Yes, they can. They have done it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 3 times in its history. They need a 2/3 vote from each house to do that. So it's not a vote that members like to take. It's only under fairly severe circumstances would legislative members choose to do that. As I mentioned, test 2 is generally the operative formula by which the guarantee is determined. So the other formulas generally come into play under 2 periods. The test 3 will come into play when state revenues are very, very weak. However, when that happens, the state has to catch up to what the test 2 level would have been eventually, and we call that catch-up factor, maintenance factor. So there are years where we go a little bit below what test 2 would provide. They eventually have to catch up to what it would have been without doing that. K-14 fortunes obviously rise and fall with the Prop 98 guarantee. As part of that guarantee, community colleges, we partner with K-12 in that. We do get the smaller end of the stick. The statute, not the ballot initiative, but statute specifies that we get about 11% of the funding. Now, the legislature can make that choice each year to fund us above or below that amount. Unfortunately, we tend to be below more than we tend to be above. That's where we are in the last couple of years, but that is their choice. So here's a display showing how the revenues in recent years have gone up and down due to the recession. So here's the column for community colleges, looking back to 2008-9 before the deep recession. You can see our total funds for the system were about $6.5 billion. The recession came, we went down and down, and 2011-12 was the bottom trench. We were down to about $5.8 billion. And as you can see over the last few years, again, thanks to the passage of Proposition 30 and a slowly recovering economy, we're finally back over the level we were before the recession hit. So it took a long time to get there. And one thing I do want to point out when you look at that number, this is just an absolute number, right? 6.7 billion is higher than 6.5, hallelujah, it looks good. But what that doesn't take into account is the impact of the cost of living over that time. And K-14 went several years, I believe 5 years, without a cost of living adjustment. So you were losing ground just trying to meet the prior year services. You had to make do with try to provide the same amount of services with less money. I think that table was nice, but pictures generally tell a nicer and easier story. The line going across here is the funding for the system, and the bars are the student headcounts. So as you can see in the early mid part of the last decade, the trend went up and up. As funding went up, our students we served in the system went up. And then when the recession hit, everything went down. So that tends to be the big story for community colleges when our funding suffers, access suffers. Again, just to take a look at some of the uncertainty we face, this is the state general fund over the past dozen or so years. And you can see we had a nice trend. Early in the 2000s, we reached a peak of a little over 100 billion. Steep decline in just a 2-year period. We lost over 20% of the general fund. So with a few hiccups here and there, we've generally come back, and finally, as I mentioned earlier, we're back a little bit over the level we were 6 years ago. It's taken a long time. Proposition 98, you can see it's a little bit smoother. It's a little bit smoother than that trend, but generally it tells the same story. General fund goes down, Proposition 98 is also going to go down. This looks like a lot of verbiage, but I've actually said most of this already, so don't worry about it. I do want to focus on this bottom point here. In addition to all those other risks that we have going up and down with the fortunes of the state, we have a very volatile tax system due to capital gains going up and down every year. Community colleges share a special burden that others in state government, including our partners in K-12, don't, and that's that we don't have a guaranteed backfill for our funding. So our budget is comprised of not only state general fund, but property tax, and of course the fee revenues we collect from our students. And at the beginning of the budget year, the budget makers estimate how much of those factors will collect, how much property tax will collect, how much fee revenue will collect, and the state budget tries to fill in the remainder. Well, if the property taxes turn out to be lower than was estimated when the year's bills come due, we are not necessarily backfilled in revenue for that loss. So we can end the year, we can do everything we were asked to do in the state budget, serve all the students we were asked to serve, and be left short on funds at the end of the year. This is a picture I want to show that, again, kind of speaks to the risk that the system faces. Whoops, I'll keep doing that. If we look at this nice big blue piece of the wedge here, back in 2008, that's the share of our system funding that was supported by state general fund. So that is appropriated in the budget, it's solid, we know it's there. The other third of the budget roughly are the estimates that I mentioned before, property tax and the student fees. If you fast forward a few years, you can see that share that is in the budget has shrunk to 40%. So we now have about 60% of our budget that's based on estimated revenues. So again, any number of these sources can fall short at the end of the year, and we could be left with an unanticipated deficit. So the risks over time have grown. I think I can skip most of this. We do have a couple of issues. We do have the statutory guaranteed backfills for the Prop 30 revenues. I'm sure you've dealt with RDAs in your community over recent years. We do get a backfill for that aspect of the funds if they fall short relative to estimates. We will get that backfill. But again, the property tax is probably the key issue there. Proposition 30 was approved by the voters, as you remember, in November of 2012. It temporarily increases the state sales tax and income tax rates. That is not permanent. Unless it is extended at some point in time, these higher revenues approved by the ballot initiative will go away. At the end of the 2016 calendar year, the sales tax component of Prop 30 will go away, which that roughly equals about 20% of total Prop 30 revenue. So we could start to see a slowdown in our budget as of that year. 2 years later, at the end of 2018, the income tax portion of Prop 30 goes away. So that is a huge uncertainty for our system as we look ahead. If those revenues are not extended at some point, we could face a pretty severe shelf in funding. And one of my concerns is that that could be concurrent with a recession where most estimates say that every 5 or 6, 7 years, we're due to have a recession, and we would be right in line for that at that point. So I think some movement to extend Proposition 30 will be very important for community colleges and for K-14 education as we look ahead. One thing I do want to note on the bottom is that when these revenues do go away for Prop 30, they do make up a large portion of our budget right now, about 13%, but it will not necessarily be a one-for-one reduction. So when those funds go away, the Proposition 98 guarantee is calculated on, it's got its own measure going on. So we may lose, our budget will likely come down to some extent as the revenues go away, but it's not necessarily a one-for-one loss. We may lose about half of it, would be my back of the envelope calculation. Another risk for community colleges is the increased CalSTRS contributions. I'm sure you've spent some time here talking about that. The employer contribution is going up steadily to the fact that it will be over 19% in 2021. That's an increase of about 11% in only 7 years. We calculate system-wide that increased contribution for the entire system is worth about $300 million. So that's like asking colleges to absorb a giant categorical program without any revenues to support it. So that's a big concern for our office, and we're trying to work with the Department of Finance and the legislature to reshape community college budgets so that we can support that increased obligation. With that, I think I'll just pause on that and take any questions you might have. I hope that was helpful for you. A few other issues I think that are maybe worth noting that are not in the presentation actually are that the legislature and the governor are very, very big on access, particularly in regard to with the passage of Prop 30. I think they feel like they've promised voters we're going to get more students in school, and they definitely want to see community colleges grow in that time. The legislature in particular is very determined to see that the growth in that enrollment be in the primary missions of the colleges, I should say. So that would include transfer, certificate, basic skills. They're looking very, very closely at those elements as they mark the growth in our system. They want to see that we're growing in those areas and not in some of the other areas. So that I want to bring that to your attention. And with that, I'd await any of your questions or comments.
Any questions from the board? Yeah, Peter.
First of all, I appreciate your coming here and providing us with the explanation that you have. When we passed Proposition 30, I think there was the explicit expectation that it would go away. I think voters who vote for a proposition like this actually, at least some of them, believe that at the end of it, it will go away. But you added an interesting factor, and that has to do with the possibility of another recession right around or coterminous with the ending of that program. Is the legislature talking about this? I mean, that would render a devastating blow, I think, to any budget that is out that far.
Yeah, well, the legislature very much likes to deal with the here and now. Budgets are passed 1 year at a time. They have term limits, and they're much more interested in what they can provide for their districts and their campaign brochures that year. So I don't think you tend to see a lot of long-range forecasting from the legislature, unfortunately. Generally speaking, the governor, I think particularly this governor, is fairly conservative fiscally. I think he's definitely looking at retiring the state's debts when it comes to, for our system, deferrals and some of those issues. And of course, he has the rainy day fund ballot initiative in front of the voters this November. So I think he has his eye on issues like that. He wants to retire debts, retire system deferrals, things like that. So if we do have a recession, we have some leverage to go back. We can go back to borrowing a little bit, so the cuts maybe won't be as drastic as they are today. But generally speaking, the legislature is going to look at the here and now.
Marcia.
Thank you also for coming. You mentioned that under Prop 98, we can, the community colleges can fall behind, in effect, the amounts that we might otherwise get, and that there's a catch-up required. Can you give us a sense of where we are on that and what the prospects might be?
Yes, I think we are about, we are about, statewide, we're about $1 billion off in maintenance factors, so that's about, for a little over 100 million for community colleges. So that over time, those funds are added to the budget. It becomes part of the guarantee.
Over
So,
time before the next,
Yeah, there are payback requirements. So if the revenues are good, they're required to pay a certain chunk of that back each year. The thing is, sometimes sometimes we don't really feel the maintenance factor payback, because sometimes what it looks like, it's less of a cut than you might have been as they might have done otherwise. So you don't always feel like here's the free gift of funds that come with it. But when times are good, I think they passed Proposition 30 with the idea that, hey, we're gonna support students. It's all about education. So I think they're gonna look to fund K-14 as well as they can over the next few years, and paying off the maintenance factors part of that.
And kind of a second question, you mentioned the test where as enrollment increases and per capita income increased, then our share would go up.
Yeah.
Or our budget would go up. What if enrollment increases and per capita income goes down? How do those two relate? Because I think that's what we've seen.
Then the guarantee goes down.
So the weight will be that it goes down.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now, there are some of those other tests can bail us out a little bit. Test 1, which I did not talk about, guarantees that at least 39.5, roughly, % of the state general fund must go to education. So if enrollment drops too far, those other factors drop too far, we have Test 1 as something of a backstop. But there's no doubt that when the state economy suffers, the Proposition 98 guarantee suffers along with it.
more of a comment than a question. I think the problem, obviously, with the here and now budgeting by the legislature is that we don't turn on a dime.
Correct.
Right, so we get these cuts or this growth, and then we have to play catch-up, and it seems as soon as we're getting caught up, and then we have to face another hurdle of adjusting to the state's budget, so.
No,
We rely on the chancellor's office to take whatever opportunities they have to work with the legislature to get them to understand that.
Yeah. Well, I rarely turn money down when it's offered to the community colleges. So the first time you hear me say no, it'll be, you'll have a new vice chancellor in that role up there. But one thing I do try to remind them is, hey, we all know these risks. We all see what's going to happen with Prop 30. If we make too many promises, if we grow our programs too quickly, get too far out ahead of ourselves, we could be right back where we were in 2009. Doing furloughs, laying people off. We don't want to do that. Telling students, no, sorry, there's no room here. I think most of us would rather see kind of a consistent, steady growth that's predictable, so you can actually create a reasonable and predictable education plan for your district.
Marty?
Just during those times, though, like in 2009, it seems to me that those are the times when we get the most people wanting to regroup or whatever or retrain themselves and all that. So it's a real conundrum at the local level.
No question.
And I don't know. There's no answer. It's not really a question. It's just observation.
It's a very important observation, because high unemployment brings a lot of people back to school. That's when our demand in the community college system is at its highest. And at the same time, when unemployment is high, that means the economy's bad, the revenues are going the other way. Right. So we get these divergent trends. It's really sad. At the time when the state needs us the most is the time the state is unable to fund the students.
And I think that's why a lot of us voted for Prop 30, or we vote for those kinds of things so that it can even out, but it really doesn't work that way very well. So,
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Can I add one other little thing, just that we base our local budget, we were just talking about a board policy on budget this morning. We base our local budget on our mission and on, the principles and our, good long-range planning and so on. But what you're saying is, and you told me to be a little bit of afraid of the risks you're going to tell us about. But what you're saying is that the state money isn't as solid as we would hope it would be. I mean, we're going to adopt a budget for 1 year and maybe look forward a little bit more.
Yeah, I always try to urge some caution when budgets are adopted. You should have a very prudent reserve. You should be very careful about looking into new programs that rely on significant growth in future years of the Prop 98 guarantee, because as we've seen, the state revenue pattern, Proposition 98, along with it, is a zigzag. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. One thing it is not is consistent.
Well, thank you for coming, though. I forgot to
My
tell you
pleasure.
that.
Hi. We've been looking at Prop 30 right now, and would Proposition 13, you're familiar with that, as far as the loophole, if that was closed, would it produce more money into the Prop 30 pool?
It depends on which loophole.
Basically, the tax credit where the corporations are kind of divvying up the property to where they're not paying the property taxes. I think Disney's paying like 1978 tax rate. Say if they were to be put into a more recent tax rate, would that alleviate some of that need for funding as far as property tax?
Since the guarantee for most years grows by per capita income of the citizens, those revenues would actually probably more likely help other areas of the state budget more. So the Proposition 98 guarantee would still have its own calculation, but there would be more revenue available to fund other things in the state. I think that's probably the more likely effect.
Thank you.
Craig, did you have a?
Yeah, because this was a great intro to my question about the amount of reserves we should have and what we should spend it on, when we come up short. And it seems like the guideline is like a 5% minimum, and that's, far as I know, that's about all the state says. But it seems to me that what I've observed is, and I wasn't on this board a couple years ago, that when the state money declined, when our revenues declined, it was like, oh no, we need to be very prudent here, and let's not make up for all of that out of the reserves because it may get worse. The forecasting on how bad it is, about all you can do, I think, is look at the past and look at all the ups and downs. And then if you do that, do you think the state could recommend to us, how much is a little more clearly on how much a prudent reserve might be and what you might recommend we spend it on?
Well, our official Chancellor's Office guidance in terms of a minimum reserve is 5%. How comfortable you are at 5% depends a lot on your assessment of the risks you face. And some of those risks are, as we've talked about here, are based on state revenue projections, Prop 98, the tone of the legislature, et cetera. But a lot of it is also going to depend on local factors. How strong do you think your enrollment demand is going to be? Where are you bargaining salary increases? Do you have to make significant new commitments in infrastructure? Things like that. I think that's primarily a local decision as to what level of reserve you're comfortable with. I would say when I look at my own personal finances, I try to hope that I have more than a couple of weeks in the bank. Should Chancellor Harris tell me that I need to find another job relatively soon. So I tend to budget more than 5% myself.
When you do that, it's a conundrum. We noticed, you mentioned earlier that when we need it the most, the funds go down, the revenue goes down. But now we see after it drops and the economy wasn't good, in some respects, an after effect is we have fewer students, and now we need to get the head count back up because we couldn't offer those services, so it drops down. So the factor here seems to be to me to find a way to smooth it out in a little bit better manner than we currently are able to do.
Yeah, I think that's one issue. I think in terms of the unemployment, I don't know that there's anything, policy-wise we can do about that. Certainly, higher unemployment is always going to drive more students enrollment demand for the colleges. But I excuse me. I think one thing we should be thinking about is maybe that having a financial system that is so concerned with FTS, with growth. Our SB 361 is like it causes districts to be like the shark that has to keep eating FTS to survive.
Thank you.
Right, and maybe we should be as much or more concerned with the quality of instruction that we provide as the quantity.
Well, what I've been hearing about since I started serving on this board is that this future trend we can look forward to is really more based on student throughput, the success that our successes, and that would tend to smooth it out a little bit too, but maybe there has to be some kind of a happy medium there.
Well, I think so. We certainly do want to provide statewide access where it's needed. That is, after all, a key part of our mission. That's why we're all here. But we are looking ahead at our office in terms of trying to find ways in the budget to increase the dollars per student that we get system-wide, and that can happen in a variety of ways. It can be through the categorical programs. It can be through the funding rates per student. It can be through our basic allocations. We're trying to do that for many of the reasons that you've suggested there, that we have to think as much about the quality of education we provide to students over time and not just the amount. I mean, if we have, you can grow 20% in enrollment next year, but how well would you serve them if you're able to do that? The quality would be so thin that those students would be cheated in some ways, right? So we're definitely trying to work with the Department of Finance and the legislature on ways to prop up that funding per student, because community college students matter. We need to make sure that they're getting a quality education.
Thank you. I could probably talk to you for a whole day and still not exhaust my curiosity, maybe, because you're actually doing this, and otherwise I'm just reading a book. And I see lots of areas that are kind of gray. Like, we spend money we have professors that teach, to high school students. We have terms for that. And that, as far as I know, comes out of our budget, where we have dual enrollment students that are high school students and take courses here. And I don't know how prevalent that is statewide, but things like that do impact, the overall. And I'm not saying that us doing that is good or bad, but I'm just saying it seems to me it's a bit of a gray area in the budgeting. And
yeah, well, certainly the college has to expend resources to educate those students, so it does affect your budget. By and large, our office is supportive of dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment, and we're trying to work with the legislature to help colleges go into those high schools and provide English and math skills to those students. We think that can be very beneficial for them if they come to the college campus at a high school more prepared, and we can do less remediation when they get there. That's good for everyone.
it seems to me we spend a lot of our budget on the remediation, and
Absolutely.
that's a big concern, and we talk about it frequently.
Sure. And it's not just us, it's the CSU as well. I understand over 70% of their students need some remediation as well in either math or English. So really speaks, I think, to the K-12 system a bit.
Dr. Gaskin, did you have a comment?
I had just a couple of comments, and I'm going to take this opportunity with Vice Chancellor Troy here to express what I'm sure you hear repeatedly, both in consultation council and out in the field. So first, thank you very much for advocating for the equity rate in the career development college preparation non-credit. That is incredible, particularly for those of us who have large non-credit programs aimed specifically for career development college prep. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We wholeheartedly support anything that can provide a recognition that educating the whole student is worth far more than $5,000 per FTES, and certainly should take into consideration what the CSU and the UCs are getting per FTES. So thank you. Two things just to comment on, and again, you've heard them before. We have another unfunded, I won't call it a mandate, but a goal, and that is our full-time faculty obligation. We know that the system office is working really hard to provide some awareness at the legislative level about the importance of that. I couldn't urge that strong enough, particularly tied to Prop 30 and access. We need faculty, and you know that. And we need to wean ourselves away from the reliance on non-full-time faculty positions. And then finally, I know you all did a yeoman's job, but it was so disheartening to get a 0.85% COLA.
It just seemed cruel, didn't it?
It did seem cruel. Just get it at zero, yeah. But as you know, everything from the lights to water in those areas that are experiencing drought and everywhere else. So anything we can do to, and we understand the governor is well aware of this, but those are two areas. Full-time faculty and a COLA will certainly help our institutions, as well as upping the rate of apportionments.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again on behalf of the board for coming down and giving us this education. I'm sure we'll see you around at sessions. Did we have one more question? Sure, can you come up to a mic? This is our Academic Senate President, Kim Monda.
So I'm grateful to Lori for bringing up the faculty position issue. We've really been struggling with that. We've still lost positions since the recession. We haven't been able to replace. So any language you can communicate with that, it is about student success. So thank you so much. I wanted to echo that. My other question relates to the new monies that have been brought forward for categorical funding for the equity plans and for the student support plans. And we're trying to plan how to spend those, and we're fearful that they could suddenly be gone once there's another problem with the state. And I'm wondering if you have any sense of what kind of commitment there is to continue that categorical funding. Thank you.
Sure. Well, those were strong. The governor advocated very strongly for both of those pots of funds. So I think for all intents and purposes, you should view them as long-term resources. Now, again, like I showed you before, the state can hit a recession anytime, and any aspects of our budget can be cut. But I don't think there's any particular reason to think that those programs have a target on their backs.
Do you think they'd be cut proportionally then? If any cut, it would be like those go with everything?
More or less, yes. I'm not going to guarantee the 2019 budget, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard enough to guarantee the 15-16 budget.
I think you can see we could go on all night with you. And here's your excuse to
Well,
come
we'll bring
down
you up
for
to
your second
Sacramento
visit. Right,
He came to Santa Barbara once, he'll come back.
right.
Yeah.
And we'll be up at in Sacramento in January, I'm sure.
Oh, great.
Any final things before we wrap up?
This may not have an answer, but you touched on two major issues that are near and dear to my heart. One has to do with the issue of quantity versus quality of education. The other has to do with the cycle, the business cycle, where we're precisely at the time when we need the funding more to accommodate larger numbers of students, is precisely the time when that funding goes away. What would you suggest to local boards of trustees that they do by way of action or inquiry with our elected officials at the state legislative level to affect that?
I think what you can do locally is we had a conversation about reserves earlier, and if you have a healthy amount of reserves in the good time, if you can squirrel away some of those resources, then when the state budget starts to get worse and less support is provided to the colleges, you can smooth out those downturns a little bit and help address some of those demand issues over time. That's not a perfect solution, but to the extent you can smooth that out a little bit, that helps a little bit. In terms of the state problem, Prop 98 was definitely written with the K-12 system in mind. The community colleges were kind of that 11% afterthought, so to speak, in it. Now, the K-12 enrollment, they fund every student that comes through the door. They're not going to eliminate the third grade during a recession. So their enrollment is much more static over time. It's much less, it's not dependent on the economy and the way the community colleges are. So I think we're always going to see a bit of a problem with that at the state level, just because when the economy goes bad, the state has less money. I think that's just how the numbers add up or don't.
Okay.
I wish I had a better answer.
It was a nice avoidance of that political element. But I think, I mean, we should be mindful of these things, and when we talk to our legislators, identify with some clarity what it is that we're talking about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for coming
Thank
to
you.
visit us.
My pleasure.
We'll move on to hearing of citizens, and I didn't have any notices. Okay, the next item would be minutes of the meeting from September 25th, 2014. Can I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Thank you. Craig, did you want to?
I'll second.
Second, and any edits or comments?
Well, it was just, I mean, did we end at 6:30 or was it more 6:45?
You know what, I think I miscommunicated that. I think it was about 6:42, somewhere right in
I
there.
know, I'm like, I
so-
know it's not AM, that was.
And for sure, it wasn't 6:40.
Didn't notice that, that's funny.
Yeah.
AM, no?
So that was
done
my
that?
miscommunication. 6:40 is a much more appropriate number, PM. And Marcia?
And I was going to suggest, as a person who was not there, but noticed in reading it, I thought that the voting seemed confusing. And it wasn't 6-1 in many cases because no one was voting against something. So I was going to suggest we go to either unanimously approved, or if there was not a unanimous approval, then the actual number of people who were there, like 5-1 or whatever it was, if that's okay with folks. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so we'll change the time to 6:40 PM, and again, my apologies, I didn't communicate that accurately.
And the vote.
And we'll
And we'll
correct.
change the vote. And with those two changes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great, thank you. Next item, communications. Dr. Manda, you're up.
I'm mindful of time, so good afternoon. I'll start with the most important detail, which is that the Senate has just spent the last 3 minutes working on, 3 minutes? You
are mindful
a
of
little
time.
less. 3 meetings, 6 hours in all. Hearing requests for new positions. We had 24 requests. Some of them are replacements from 2, 3, 4 years ago that we didn't get because of the budget crisis. So new is really a misnomer, but after a year we call them new. We had 10 departures or retirements. We had 10 positions to award. So we had a ratio of 10 to 24. And again, I know Dr. Gaskin's very mindful of that, and I just want the board to recognize we're really functioning in a deficit mode in terms of our full-time faculty. And as outstanding as our adjunct faculty are, there are things they can't do in terms of service and in terms of working together to revise pedagogy, availability to students. And so we're going to need it from the state because we don't have it in our existing budget. So I just want to reinforce that and thank you for your thoughts and efforts in that area. We worked really hard. The department chairs made outstanding presentations. The senators debated and explored what we thought of as our priorities, and so we did recommend 10 positions to be filled for next year. We forwarded that to the administration, and they agree with the recommendations, and they'll be moving forward to being able to hire those new positions. So the only other thing I wanted to tell you is I like to remind you of the student calendar because our lives are so shaped by where we are in school and when finals are coming. So this is week 9, and at the end of week 9, students have to decide if they're going to withdraw or not. That's their last chance to decide, and we as faculty try to really make sure they're informed about their status in the class and what their chances still are for passing it. So part of our student success efforts are making sure that students know what their standing is and what else they can still do to pass, and I always use it as a little check-in moment. So I don't want you to drop, but this needs to change. So I just wanted you to know that's what's also going on in our students' lives and our teachers' lives. Thank you. Okay. Any questions?
When do we, I remember last year they told us, they weren't able to fund, but when do we know, what you're able to fill or what departments and stuff?
Oh, the Senate ranked it,
Yeah.
and that will be brought forward to you through our HR process.
So sometime later on.
Yeah, I mean, that's our normal sequence.
That's what I'm saying, that's not to you, so we'll know later on sometime.
You can probably say
I'm
it right
actually,
now.
now that you know, I was going to send the email I send to all faculty and CCU on the positions.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was in
Yeah.
the last minute.
So, yeah, I'll just go do it now. You know, I don't have them memorized.
I have him here.
Yeah, I have them in my folder. Do you want me to go grab it, or?
I can pull it up right here.
Oh, nice.
And they were 9 replacements and 1 new. I'm sorry, 8 replacements and 2 new,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so associate degree nursing was a replacement, English skills replacement, mathematics replacement, English replacement, psych replacement, astronomy replacement, sociology new, history replacement, English new, library replacement. And that totals 10.
And again, the new is somewhat arbitrary because they are actually replacements from further back in the past. So we now rank everything together because we in better years, we could assess replacement first, and now we have to mix it all together because we don't get to fill all the replacements every year.
Kim, what are we using for our baseline there when we look at that?
Baseline for,
I
you
mean, when we say we haven't been able to catch up, from when?
Oh.
Are we, what's our?
That's a great question, because you can go back forever in some ways. But we really are counting since the biggest, latest hit of our recession in 2008-9, and so it came through in 10, 11, 11, 12, where we couldn't fill everything. So we have about 5 left from that, plus the 2 we got now. So now we're 7 down from that fairly recent moment, you know. Okay, thank you.
That's hard.
Did you have?
Yeah,
one
no,
more thing?
and I know, I mean, it is hard, and I know the great work you guys are doing now with, you know, like the ESP and all the stuff, and the extra work that our faculty is doing in terms of the advising, and that model is great. And I know Dr. Gaskin had a goal of more counseling. So how do you see this now?
Well, fortunately, we'll be receiving SSSP funds as well as student equity funds,
So you'll be able
and
to
we're
use
hoping
that
to
for that.
allocate those toward some ramping up of our counseling staff.
So that's good to know that
Yes.
while you were obviously, this is a hard decision, there is a plan for supporting it on the other end.
Definitely.
So it's not just like, oh, we couldn't.
Right, that allows us to not have to think about the counseling positions in
You can
opposition to
review
the
them
teaching
separate.
positions, right?
And that's good, because I think,
Yeah.
because we see it as faculty, but you've
Right.
found a way to sort of separate it
Well,
to make sure.
well,
they're-
No, we only separate categorically funded.
No, I know, I'm saying, because our counselors are like faculty
Right.
too, our full-time counselors are
Exactly.
considered
They are, yes.
faculty, but if there's a way to separate, to sort of put needs where they are.
Only categorically funded. For example, EOPS submitted a general fund counselor for ranking and consideration, and that was
Okay.
not ranked. So if they're categorically funded, we take it out of the ranking process.
So that, because you're funding it somewhere else.
Correct.
So that's good.
It is, yeah, it's a safety
Because I think
valve.
sometimes people don't see that distinction, so it's good to know that it's separate.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm remembering is last year, we did get to hire, was it 2
3.
counseling
Well,
positions?
We hired 3 additional positions beyond the replacement, and we did hire 2 counselors.
Those aren't part of the 2.
No, yeah,
And we brought them, yeah, we brought them back. They were like, we had to make decisions to lay out, but then we brought them back, like there was plans.
yeah, no, we established permanent positions. We were
Okay.
not using permanent positions for some of our counseling.
Okay.
So these were permanent tenure track positions.
Peter,
What's our ratio of permanent faculty to the number the state requires? Are we?
We're above.
We're
Yeah,
above?
when you look at raw number, we are above.
Okay. This 14 positions that were not funded, do they correlate to an increase in the number of students that we have? How do we deal with that?
That's a really good question. We hire additional part-time faculty to teach the classes if we can. We also have full-time faculty teaching overloads, but some of them are kind of getting maxed out. You can't do that for too long without just getting too tired. So some of the presentations we're talking about, we don't know how much longer we can serve the students. Because sometimes you can't find qualified adjunct faculty to teach in particular fields, either because they get paid so much more in business and industry, or it's a small town.
anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Gracie, our president of the Associated Student Body.
Members of the board, Dr. Gaskin. So our Senate this year is really proactive, and we've had a lot of activities this semester. A few that we just allocated 200 of our personal fund, or of our Senate funds to the hydration stations that are going to be around Isla Vista. And so next weekend we're going to have about 70 water jugs, and it's in collaboration with UCSB, and we're going to have about 70 water jugs on Del Playa and at Little Acorn Park, and we're going to be hydrating students and community members that are going to take part in the Isla Vista festivities. What else? We just had a very successful turnout for the Heart and Soul AIDS Walk. We, as the SBCC ASG Senate, we had the largest team there, so that was really exciting. It was a 6-mile walk, and it was actually the hottest day of the year, so that was really exciting to get so many people out there. We just this past Saturday had an event in Isla Vista. It was the Meet Your Neighbor event, in which the school supported with some funds, and we had a really great time out there. There were, I guess, people from around the community. They all went to their neighborhood parks, and then they all joined us at Enesco Park, and we got a lot of members from the community that hadn't seen SBCC present within those Isla Vista events. They all came to our table, and they were really just so happy to see that we were out there, and that was really nice. And we're actually going to partner up with the co-op, and they're going to come speak to us to see if there's any services that they can offer the students, and these services would most likely be free. So that's really exciting. We also, in collaboration with UCSB, the president and I came up with a letter we drafted a letter that we're going to send out to schools within California. So we're going to send them out to CSUs, to all the CSUs, all of the not all of the CCs, a lot of the CCs, all of the UCs, some private schools, and some high schools within the local area. And it's just a letter telling them how we really love our community here in Santa Barbara, and we would just really like them to stay away and to stay within their communities, just because we don't want our community to be trashed, and we don't want what happened during Deltopia to happen again, or to ever occur again. And so we're going to be sending that out, and both of our boards voted in favor of it unanimously, so that was really exciting. Tomorrow we're having a dodgeball tournament, and that's really exciting. And so we actually, we had 3 goals this semester, and one of them was to help the whole Isla Vista issue, and so we've hit that goal, and we've done a lot of things with the whole Isla Vista, with the issues concerning Isla Vista, and our second was to have more student activities. And so with this dodgeball tournament, we have about 100 students signed up, and we actually have 2 faculty teams, so that's really exciting. It is a fundraiser also, so it's going to bring some funds in, and those funds are going to go towards the Isla Vista hydration stations. We also had a second club day today because the first one was so successful, and that went pretty well. And during the Halloween weekend, so next weekend, we're actually going to have some of our Senate volunteer, and we're also having some of the clubs volunteer during the Halloween festivities. And so we are going to have the hydration stations, but we need people to man those stations. And so we're they need 9 volunteers per day, and we're volunteering Thursday night from 10 to 1 and Saturday night from 10 to 1. So it's really exciting. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions?
It's a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been busy. Okay, thank you.
Next up is Liz Auchincloss for a report on classified employees. Liz has been here over 25 years.
Good afternoon again. The consultation group has met a couple of times since our last meeting, and we've had reports from our representatives that are on the PEC committee. And on the PLUMP, a couple of the people were participating in the PLUMP. But our most energetic conversations have been over the transportation alternative initiative that's being put forward, and about our upcoming meeting with the neighborhood task force. We had quite an energetic conversation yesterday, kind of discussing the issues, so we're ready to talk to you when we meet on Monday, so we appreciate that opportunity. And another note, I wanted to congratulate our college president in her initiation in writing on the back of the computer tech cart today. She was very gracious and didn't take one of the seats, so we've all, everybody in the tech shop has had that opportunity to ride it, not in the seat, but in the back of the cart, and our president was initiated into that nice event, so congratulations.
Thank you. I want to be, that was really fun. I want to be back there more often.
Any questions?
All right, thanks, Liz. Dr. Gaskin.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to emphasize a couple of things. You heard Gracie's report, and Gracie has been an incredible student leader, and this is a difficult year to be in that position. Post what happened with Deltopia and late in May, and she has done it both following her name with grace as well as with a real commitment and determination, so I really applaud her efforts. And in addition, I sat down to write the Monday morning update, and I don't know if you all had a chance to read it this past Monday, because I wanted to get a sense of what this institution is doing. And in it, I just gave a brief update on our accreditation, our board policies and administrative procedures project, our PLUMP project, the Student Support and Success Program, student equity that we're working on, the huge One College process, our building of our campus center, which I shared with you a couple of days ago. We received DSA, Department of State Architect approval. Our transportation alternative group, which it was very cute. Joe was, I don't know, grilled, is that a correct word for College Planning Council? Did a remarkable job the other day in introducing and shepherding this institution to a really viable transportation alternative plan. We have our neighborhood task force where Marianne and Marty are involved day and night. And then we have Isla Vista, which all of us are deeply, deeply involved in. And that doesn't even take into account many of the other things we do on a daily basis. So I have to speak just to share with you the remarkable efforts our faculty, staff, and administration and students are making, as well as all of you for leading this effort. It's pretty remarkable what's happening this year. So other than that, no comments.
That was a remarkable update.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
A report from committee chairs, board members. Nothing?
The Facilities Committee had a very interesting session this week. We heard about the environmentally sensitive habitat lighting project, and that's exactly what it is. We have to be very careful about areas, in this case the art yard, where the lighting will affect the natural environment and creatures. And so we are redoing the lighting there. It's an interesting and exciting idea. Second, the Schott Center windows and door restoration, which we had heard about before, and that will happen during the winter holiday break. Third was the construction management services agreement for the West Campus Classroom Office Building project. And that's the beginning of the start of that project in actual concrete terms, which was an exciting thing. Then we did components of the accounting and payroll office refurbishment project, including furniture and electrical outlets, et cetera, and we were delighted to receive the notice of completion of that, which obviously has been a big project, and we're glad it's done, and we are sure that the office is glad it's done. And then finally, we did some discussion and learning about the campus center seismic and building codes, which is called the Upgrade Project. And it's a notice of exemption, meaning that as we start to work on the campus center, this will have been approved for its environmental impact. So as you can see, we had a very busy meeting. We learned quite a lot about some of the areas that we hadn't had a chance to talk about before. Thank you.
Any questions? No, I guess we're not doing questions right now. I'm sorry, reports from Ed Policy or Fiscal? Nope.
If not,
Great.
I just wanted to thank Mary Ann for stepping in on the Neighborhood Task Force when I was ill, because it made a huge difference to have somebody who's so capable and knows what they're doing and able to handle a meeting when I was not feeling so well. So thank you so much for doing that.
You're most welcome. I look forward to going forward together.
There we go.
And I understand Mary Ann's worked in the Isla Vista area too, so thank you for your work there.
She's busy.
There have
Let's
been,
say together.
there's been comments I've heard around the community, just at random, about City College isn't doing anything about Isla Vista, and they're not doing this, and they're not doing that. You know, maybe we should look at making press releases about what we're doing, especially related to Isla Vista or others, and get it into the news media a little bit in different formats. And the news media is changing rapidly these days, so we have all these different kinds of newspapers. None of them appeal to everybody. And you know, maybe we could look at for issues like Isla Vista, maybe, and what we're actually doing. I think we could do a little bit better job of getting the information out there. And at least if the media doesn't publish it, at least they have it. You know, I think maybe, I'm positive that we could improve the effort on disseminating the information to the public.
Okay, thank you, Craig. All right, next item is 2.1, revision to board policies. Did you want to, oh, I'm so sorry. We're on 1.9B, Robert Else.
And this is your regular update on where we are with our accreditation self-evaluation. Okay.
I was almost skipping you, Robert. I'm sorry.
Right. We're on track, but we need to stay diligent. It's a lot of work, a lot of thinking, tough job, but if we stick to it, we'll get there. So the steering committee continues to meet every couple of weeks to review the writing, discuss revisions, and not just wordsmithing, but higher level questions of what does this really mean and how do we approach this. One very interesting development, Kenley and I each volunteered to serve on an accreditation team that visited another college. So a few weeks back, I was on a team that visited Los Medanos College up in the Bay Area. Kenley went to Long Beach College, and it gave us a very valuable perspective on being on the other side, being on the team that comes to visit. What are they looking for? How does the team really operate? How can we help the visiting team understand us when they come here fresh, not knowing who we are, not knowing our culture? How can we help them through our writing understand us, and how can we help ourselves in that whole process? It was extremely valuable for both Kenley and I, and we brought back lots of good feedback for the group. So that will improve our self-evaluation a great deal. So by December 1st, Lori will have the first clean draft of everything. We'll pull it all together, and it'll go through the review process. CPC will see it next May. You'll see it for your first reading next June. We've just gotten a letter from the Accrediting Commission that it's time for us to choose the date for our fall visit, and they gave us a window of 2 weeks. It's the week of September 28th, which is the 6th week of the fall semester, or the following week, which is the week of October 5th. So that window, we will be discussing which, you know, if there's a pro or a con to either time window. That's week 5 or 6 of the semester. If there are any academic implications, we'll discuss all that and decide that soon. We need to let them know soon. That's my report. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just as a follow-on, it will be particularly important for the board to be available during their visit, which extends from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. Not a full 8-hour day each day, but there will be certain times that there will be meetings scheduled. So we'll let you know as soon as we clarify which week it is.
All right, thank you. Now we're on to 2.1, revision of board policies, Chapter 3.
This is second reading.
Second reading, we already covered these once in our meeting earlier this month. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move that they be approved.
Are we approving just 2.1, or can we take?
Can we take them all
We
together?
could probably go ahead and do 2.1 and 2.2 together, chapters 3 and 5, general institution and student affairs.
I would move approval of those two.
Okay, second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Thanks for the suggestion, Peter. Appointment of Measure V Citizens Bond Oversight Committee members.
So there's a couple of things, or actually 3 things we would like you to do today, and I'll take the easy ones first. We have an appointment of Dr. David Donor that we are recommending to you for the Foundation for SBCC recommendation. As you will recall, the committee is comprised of an individual who is part of a support organization, and that support organization is typically a foundation. So Dr. David Donor, and then for our SBCC Student Senate, Caleb Ransom. So those are straightforward in terms of asking for your appointment. Then the final position that is vacant is a community member at large, and we have 2 individuals who have submitted applications for 1 position. And I did want to make a correction. On the first application, Craig Geyer, on the back, where it says, "Are you willing to comply with the ethics code?" We have this problem repeatedly.
I think we need to
We're going to
separate that and
change
change
the,
the form.
yes, application, because people go, no, 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 and we did confirm with him that he meant yes. That he would comply. So I would ask that you affirm the appointments of Dr. David Donner and Caleb Ransom, and that you determine the community at large representative.
Shall we take those separately?
Please.
Okay, so let's affirm the first 2 appointments. Can I have a motion
Motion to approve?
and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. And so the next item then is choosing between our 2 volunteers, potential volunteers, Craig Geyer and Luis Esparza, and they both filled out these forms. Did anybody have comments to add about any one of these individuals?
Are any of them here?
Are any of them here tonight?
Does either have a relationship to City College?
No. And there's no need to?
No, I think that's a curiosity point.
We're always happy that people are willing to step forward and volunteer to serve. There's not a whole lot of information in these 2 applications.
I would recommend that you consider their experience and expertise and background in serving on public commissions and committees as a guide, one guide.
So like the City of Santa Barbara Fire and California Trinity.
You know him?
So our next step, do we vote on this tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next step is for somebody to nominate or?
exactly.
Make a motion?
Yes.
I think Marty's ready.
Yeah, I'd like
make
to
a-
nominate Luis Esparza. He's served on city boards, advisory boards, and I know him. It's sort of like shooting in the dark a little bit here because we don't always know somebody, so I'm happy to nominate him.
I second that.
Okay. So all in favor of Luis Esparza?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a count? I didn't. Mary Ann, Peter. Everybody except Craig. And then everyone in,
Sorry.
is it the name, everyone in favor of Craig?
No, it's
Craig
not,
Geyer,
it's not
no.
just the name, but he
No,
has a lot of
there's
experience.
no motion.
Yeah, he does, he does.
He has
All
an
right.
awful lot of experience, and I felt very safe about that.
Okay, so the motion is passed then. With, is that a no or?
With me
abstain?
saying no, yes.
Okay.
So
So congrat,
just to clarify for Angie, 6 yes, 1 no.
6 yes, 1
And
no.
1 advisory yes.
1 advisory yes, the no was Craig Nielsen,
Got it.
and welcome aboard Luis Esparza, and
Right.
thank you in advance
Thank
for
you.
your service.
And I would also like to make sure that we contact Craig, I don't know how this is done, but just to, encourage him, because honestly, it was almost just because I knew Luis, it wasn't because I didn't like him or anything, or think he wasn't qualified. He looks very qualified, so I'd like to encourage him in the future to, put his name
Yeah,
in for things. I don't want to just leave him like that.
I'd like to thank him for applying, and I'm just wondering if there's a mechanism in the future where we might get to know people a little better, if they were willing to come and chat with us.
We can certainly ask that they present to the board a 3-minute, it's whatever process you would like. So we can do that from here on out.
It's
Also-
like, if you don't know them, you're
Very
looking at a
difficult.
very brief
Yes.
application.
Yeah, well, also in the past, we've had multiple people going for one position, and they filled out their form very completely, so that's also helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
They can
Right.
be encouraged to fill out the form all the way. All right, enough of that one. Moving on to human resources then.
And I am Pat today.
I
Pat
didn't
is
see
at
her
a
out there.
conference. And I would like to recommend the consent items presented to you, and these are our regular consent agenda items in HR.
I move approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passed.
Thank you.
Moving along then? We got-
To Ed Programs?
Yes, Ed Programs.
Yes, and we have Dr. Monda and Marilyn for Jack.
I was wondering why you were here, Marilyn.
Lots of conferences this week.
Hello, so I just am here to present the CAC actions, our Curriculum Advisory Committee recommendations regarding new and modified courses and programs, as well as some course deactivations. These have all been reviewed by department chairs and deans and approved by CAC. So they're here as a consent item. But I just wanted to tell you that list of deactivations shows how hard we're working to clean everything up as we go through all of our curriculum.
It's good for like articulation and all that.
Was very impressive.
Good.
So this is item 5.1. Can I have a motion?
Move to approve?
In a second?
Second.
Second from Mary Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Great, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kim.
Good evening. I am here representing Jack Friedlander, who is at a Transforming Institutions Conference in STEM in Indianapolis. So the first item is 5.2, which is a consent item, and that is stipends for faculty.
Have a motion to approve.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
And the second item is 5.3, which is an action item, and it is proposed curriculum for the Center for Lifelong Learning, a few additions here.
I move approval for the new courses.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. That's it.
Business Services, and Joe's making his way up here. I just want to thank everybody on the Facilities Committee again, and that would be Mary Ann, Craig, and Marcia. This committee has worked so hard this year. I mean, all of us are working hard, but there've been such activity, and I appreciate your hard work and recommendations.
It's a very exciting committee to serve on.
It is, yeah. No, there'll be a fight over that one next
Yeah.
year.
And I would like to present then 6.1 for our consent items for your approval.
I'll move approval.
Move approval? Is there a second?
I had a question. This was just real brief.
I'll
but-
second it just for
Let's get a
discussion.
second
and
first,
then
and
I'll
then
Oh,
second,
okay,
and then you
sorry.
can go
Okay,
ahead,
Marty
Craig.
seconds, and discussion. Craig?
Just want to ask a question. And you may not know the answer because it's only one item, but you asked for permission to buy a bunch of chairs for biological sciences.
Okay.
And do you have any, that's all it says. It doesn't say how many or what kind or anything, but it's $36,000 for chairs. So I was just a point of curiosity. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I
No,
don't
no,
have any
it's
info.
fine. Actually, this is in, I have to go back, but I believe I know this one just because it was, right now, we're in the process of updating a lot of our chairs and tables across the campus, and these were I believe, the lab chairs that were in there that were quite old and in very bad shape, and so they went through, and that's part of where the department specifies what they'd like to see and bring in, and then we go acquire it, and this is, it's through either competitive bid or piggyback, but either way, it's done, through that process.
Thank you. Sorry to pull one out of the air
No,
like
it's
that, but I just was curious.
It's important to note that our acquisition of furniture is commercial grade furniture, which is different than home furniture, so chairs are
I would certainly hope so. They get a lot of use. It's not like a
Exactly.
chair on my house.
Yeah.
And it's virtually all labs in that building, so.
It's a good question, Craig.
Next item.
Wait, did we approve that?
Oh, I'm so sorry. But, all right, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just had a question with the fence, the garden fence, does that have to do with like our coastal creatures and
Yes.
gardens? Okay, so it's a
There
special.
was mitigation work that we were required to do relative to the Humanities Project. You will recall the 5 eucalyptus trees and the extension of the art patio. So there was mitigation work, and
So that fence is for that area over there?
if you're talking about the new fencing down, yeah.
All right, like it's.
Down by the pathway.
Yeah, the 10,000 for fence, and so it's because of that for,
And the lighting project.
yeah. So that's good, because it's required because of what, we have to take care of creatures.
Yes.
Important.
Yes. There are really 2 reasons anytime we do those coastal ones. The one is the creatures and also the growth. That is, we are supposed to protect the environment in every way. And then we have to do it very carefully because that soil, of course, is permeable and easily destroyed.
Okay, thanks.
I should have let Joe.
Quick question as well.
I'm sorry.
On purchase order number, let me find it. It says jail laptops. Is that for programs that we're doing?
We have a program that we work with the Ventura County Jail System, and also with our local Santa Barbara County also. We have a lab in each of those facilities that we support for the intern.
The policy committee studied the one that's done here and read the research, and we were, at least I was astonished. Perhaps Peter already knew this, I don't know, or Veronica might have, but it turns out that with the use of laptops or technology is one of the most successful ways to teach basic skills in the prison or jail setting.
And it's not Ventura County, it's our county.
Santa Barbara, I
Yeah,
think.
so it's not, it's,
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you, Marilyn.
Peter?
Implicit in some of the questions might be a concern about, what goes into a consent agenda. And my understanding is that these items have been carefully vetted before they're placed on this consent agenda and presented to us.
Yes, and many of them, like for instance, when you do the purchase order approvals and expenditures are already included in the budget. This is just the more formalized process of now we've ordered it, placed the order, and then so it's basically a follow-up saying you approved our budget. These are within the budget, but it is a consent item.
Thanks.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay.
Next item then.
I think.
We need to vote.
Oh, we
Yeah.
voted. We voted.
Oh, did vote?
We voted on the
Oh,
consent
I'm-
calendar,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I was
You just
going
kept
back and
talking.
forth.
Where were you?
We had some talking
I
afterwards.
didn't even hear the vote.
Yes.
No,
It's unanimous.
That's all right. We had a motion, a second discussion,
And a
and then a
yes.
vote, and then some more discussion.
Got it.
Well, now that's embarrassing. No.
No, it's 5:30, and we're all studying very hard.
So resolution number 14 is the budget transfers between major objects, and then we can also take that with 6.2B, which is resolution number 15, which is the augmentation of revenue.
May I have a motion for those resolutions 14 and 15?
I move that they be approved.
I will second.
Thank you. Angie, now we're awake.
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Macker?
Aye.
Trustee Haslam?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Student Trustee Style?
Aye.
So Resolution 16, item number 6.2C is the transfer from ending fund balances. And it's made in this year, but it's to reconcile the ending balance for the 13-14 budget. And I believe we discussed this in fiscal committee as well.
Yes,
The items under it.
Well, and if you think the Facilities Committee works hard, I substituted for the Finances Committee the other day, and they work even harder.
Can I have a motion to approve resolution number 16?
Yes.
Thank you, Craig. Second?
Second.
All right. Angie?
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Macker?
Aye.
Trustee Haslam?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Student Trustee Style?
Aye.
And resolution number 17 is establishing what's called the GAN appropriation limit. This is established by the state and sets a limit for the annual appropriations of tax proceeds for all municipalities. And this is one where we're comfortably under the limit.
Move approval?
Second?
Angie?
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Macker?
Aye.
Trustee Hasland?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Student Trustee Style?
Aye.
Resolution number 18 is for the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, Notice of Exemption for the Campus Center Seismic and Building Code Upgrades Project. So, do you have?
I move for approval.
Second.
Hey, Angie?
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Macker?
Aye.
Trustee Hasland?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Student Trustee Style?
Aye.
And then the last one, action item, is Prop 30. It's the EPA expenditure report for fiscal year 2014-15. And this is essentially a report we prepare for the Chancellor's Office that describes how we're going to expend those funds in support of education.
I move approval.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I wouldn't mind an information technology update sometime. I miss seeing Paul up there.
We have our study sessions mapped out, and we'll take a look at, I think we have you down in the spring.
Good. Okay, well, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.